My talk today is really feasting on the banquet of life. That's what this talk is about this morning. And actually, I'm very proud to say that this book has just been released. It's a 28-day thought diet. And I am one of the authors in this book, along with my partner Cheryl and 23 other people. And this just came out, and you all, I would be delighted if you all, would take a look if you're interested in buying that. This is not to promote myself this morning, but I just wanted to say, feasting is when we take those moments to nurture ourselves. And one of the ways in which we nurture ourselves is to feel good about ourselves, to feel good about what we do and how God shows up as us in those ways. And I know for me, on a personal note, part of my life's journey, and I know why I am here on this planet, no question about it, and I've resisted it, is to be able to stand in that place of simply being who I am and learning to not apologize for who I am. And to know that God never makes mistakes, that every single one of us has a reason to be here on this planet. And we all have stories, we all have our journey, and I know for me early on, mine was to live small. Mine was to step aside and to become invisible. And that's what I have done for so much of my life. I'd say except for probably the last 10 years when I have finally, little by little, allowed myself to say, you know what, Jeanie, it's okay to be you. You don't have to apologize for who you are anymore. Because I know when I feel good and I take care of me, that's what this talk is about, feasting. It's about life has this amazing banquet available to us all the time. What is it that I'm going to choose to partake of every day? What are the things that I'm going to say, you know what, I want some of that. I want some of that. Because my good, if I truly believe this philosophy and I am anchored into that, then I know only my good is available to me when I am aligned with Source at all times. And when I come over to another place, I'm going to make choices that do not serve me. I'm going to make choices that probably don't taste good in my experience of digesting the thoughts that I take in, as well as the experiences in my life that I am solely responsible for. And I think it's easy to forget that we're here to have fun. We're here to be these amazing, joyous expressions of love, of light, of laughter. And, I know Carol O'Connell very well, and I know she speaks to you all often. She's been one of my mentors for many, many years. And the first time I heard her say, life is meant to be joyful, and it's a journey of joy. And I was like, seriously? Carol, we need to talk. And so I've continued, especially in the last 10 years, to anchor myself into many, many teachings. Unity is one of them. Science of mind is another. But I kind of look at the buffet of the interfaith philosophy because I do know that we are all one. And I came, and some of you may remember this when I spoke last time, you have so many speakers up here, but my mom was Russian, and she was born in China. So she came from a very different background. My father was born in Alabama, raised in Texas. He was Air Force, fundamental Baptist, and Russian Orthodox. What can I say about that, okay? So I learned early on, growing up the first 12 years of my life, living in a military life, you are exposed to many, many different peoples of huge diversity. You learn to accept, you learn to be exposed to things, and you don't know anything different. And I found how challenging it was for me, actually, when my father retired, we were in California for 1 year, and then he came with Lockheed, and we moved to Georgia. And we came here, it was a very different culture here in the mid-60s, extremely, for those of you who may have been here at that time and since then. And I had a really hard time adjusting. And so once again, I found myself sort of stepping back and becoming invisible. I always dealt with self-esteem issues anyhow. And I just really wasn't sure. So as time has gone on, and as I continue to find my way in this world and truly anchor into why I am here, the thing that I continue to do, and I'll do this with you all this morning, the last time I was here, was about authoring your life. It was about creating a new story for yourself, because you are unique. You are this amazing creation, and oftentimes we do live small. I know recently the talk that I gave at Unity North for the White Stone ceremony at the 1st of January was about the challenge, claiming your nature, claiming your name, and for this year and for the rest of your life. And that's what feasting is all about. It's saying, for today, when I wake up, just like this morning, how many of you made a choice or a selection possibly for breakfast or for coffee, for something already that you've done this morning that you've said, okay, this is what I want. Okay? When you wake up every morning, have you allowed yourself, and I will invite you to consider this going forward, to say, okay, here is this banquet table of life, and I know that only my good is offered to me this morning. What will I choose? When I walk up there at this buffet, at this banquet table, what am I going to select and choose for myself today? Will that be something that nourishes me? Will that be something that truly feeds me in my heart and soul, that allows me to be energized, that allows me to be elevated so that I can see beyond the illusion, so that I can allow myself to rise into a different place and see through different eyes, something that, choices that are going to have me be better equipped to shine my light, to serve others, because I firmly believe we came here for one thing and one thing only, well, except to have joy, excuse me. Mountaineer, I guess, I don't know. It's good. Things are moving and flowing, so you can hold it in that way. But I came here for that, to serve others. Well, how do I serve others if I do not serve myself? And what I heard repeatedly was, that's very selfish. That's very self-serving. And I remember the airplane analogy of, if the plane is going down and the oxygen mask drops, what do you do first? You put it on you first. Because then and only then can you assist others. That is no different in this lifetime, is what I have come to believe. I didn't believe it before. Before I thought, okay, I know how to be the martyr. I know how to sacrifice myself. Let me lay myself down here. For what reason? But what I'm saying to you too is, that is whatever it is that you have learned along your way. Every day is a new opportunity. We already know that. Every moment is a new opportunity. And I get to choose what it is that I want to taste today. I get to choose what it is that I want to savor and truly delight in. It truly is a feast. So in this book, it was these authors coming together, and we each wrote a chapter. And it begins with, today I choose the thought of. Okay? Mine was feasting. Another reason I chose that word is because I used to weigh about twice as much as I do now. I used to weigh about 300 pounds. My lifelong journey was, food was my comfort. Food was my addiction. That was the way I became invisible. That was the way I coped with my feelings. We all have our stuff. That was mine. I have a few more, but I don't need to disclose those.
Oh, come on.
I'll save that for May and July, okay? And don't you keep track either, all right? Say, Jeanie, we're here because I want to hear about the rest of the stuff. Anyway, so I chose feasting because I will tell you, and the banquet table, the buffet of life, is one of my favorite metaphors, because I was living in Las Vegas at this time. This is 1995. I lived in Vegas for 10 years. Took out 1 year to go to Salt Lake City to go to massage school and add that to my counseling and psychology background. That's a whole nother talk. But anyway, I was like, okay, in Vegas. People said, so what did you eat? Did you do things different? Did you exercise? What did you do? Well, part of it was making a commitment to truly say, today is going to be different than any other day. And I have the opportunity today. This was 17 plus years ago when I finally made this choice after a lifetime journey on this roller coaster ride, up and down, with weight, with not feeling good. And I still deal with that because it's part of my journey. But to be able to know that I can do it differently and make healthier choices, choices that are honoring of me and honoring of Source. So anyway, I said, okay, one day at a time. One bite at a time, one moment at a time. If I don't try this one more time, I'm never going to know. So the point of the buffets in Vegas was I was going to the very same buffets, some really nice ones that could cook healthy food or not so healthy food, the stir fries, all these different vegetables and fruits and all of that. The only difference was, and we already know this too, I was different. Life is the same. You can go to this buffet over here and know that the choices and selections are ones that are in alignment with you, ones that resonate with you, ones that support the mission, the path that you are on to nourish you and feed you. Or you could go to a different one that you know is going to offer you something that may not be the best choice for you. And please know, for me, in the learning to be gentle with myself, that there's no judgment in that. It's not that one is right or wrong, whatever choice you make. It's just your choice in that moment and how you want to feel. And so for myself, after all those years, I said, okay, this is what I choose. So people would say, well, like I said a minute ago, what did you do differently? I said, I went to the very same buffets, I just made different choices. I was different. We all know, we hear, life is going to happen. Things are going to happen in the world out there. What is going to be my center that I'm going to be anchored into? How am I going to show up today, even though the circumstances of my life are the same? The only thing that's different is going to be me. That's like even with prayer, and you being a prayer chaplain, I know prayer doesn't change anything out here. Prayer changes us. So that's what I'm saying. When we learn how to feast, and we really learn how to take care of ourselves, it is amazing what can happen. When we give ourselves permission to truly have fun and enjoy and know that the universe, God, Spirit, Jesus, whatever language you want to use around it, only has our good in mind. 24/7. In my chapter here, I call it, I think, the Universal Cafe or the Divine Cafe that's open 24/7, and the Universal Chef has always prepared everything that you need with love at any time. But the first little chapter, and I wanted you to hear this, I appreciated the song that we sang earlier. Thank you. I am. I am. I am. And Wayne Dyer's most recent Wishes Fulfilled talks about his leukemia journey and him really going into just those two words. We hear a lot about that now. But the feasting, I wanted to share this with you with a lot of pride and also with something to give you to digest today. All right? Today, I choose the thought of feasting on the bountiful and beautiful banquet of life that I am blessed to partake of every day. I am mindful of every magnificent morsel offered in the endless array of abundance that nourishes my mind, body, heart, and soul. I am enriched and energized as I engage life with excitement and expectancy. Today, I walk my path with purpose and passion, in wonderment and awe of the divine and dazzling display of all that is, of the substance that is generously and lovingly offered to me in this now moment. I am reminded that as I consciously choose to serve myself, I am in service to others, aware of the oneness that we share. I savor the sweetness of spirit, delighted in my remembrance of why I am here, to serve with love. So feasting can seem sometimes like, ooh, that's overwhelming. Maybe I'm going to be a glutton. There's a lot of words and things that you're smiling, Travis, that we associate with that, because I know for me, a lot of times when I started making different choices, I really criticized and judged myself. Gosh, Jeanie, and I'm not wanting to share the words with you that I used against myself, and all the descriptors that were very unloving and unkind towards me. And I know what I do to me, I do to others. How I speak to myself, my language that I use for me affects others, because everything is energy. Everything is energy. We are these amazing energy beings in these fantastic physical bodies that God has so beautifully crafted for us to live our journey and to come here and to celebrate to show up when there's snow on the ground, or there's sunlight outside and it's 100 degrees, or if it's 10 degrees. We all have that opportunity in every moment to do it in such a way. So I would ask you now, just to contemplate for a moment, what are the choices that you're making in your life? I'm really big when I work with clients privately, and when I do workshops, interactive ones, and we get in there and we do some of that inner work. I really challenge people, because I do this with myself. What thoughts am I choosing today? Am I conscious? And how do I expand my spiritual practice so that I can become more conscious? How do I apply all the teachings that I continue to learn about in this church, in the readings that I have? How do I apply those to my life so that I am always tapped in, tuned in, tapped in, and turned on? I think that's what Abraham Hicks. Absolutely. Absolutely, because it's universal energy, it's spiritual principles. And God is ever present, whatever language that you choose to call it. So are your choices serving you today? If you approached your banquet table, what would it look like? What would be on it? I was thinking about a cup of kindness, a bowl of bliss. How about a side of serenity? Right? All the amazing things that we can serve ourselves with so that we truly can be in service to others. Every time we make a choice, every single time, we are not just choosing for ourselves. We are choosing for everyone else that's out there, because in the interconnectedness of all beings, it's a moment when we truly recognize the expansiveness of spirit, the unlimitedness of life. You know, nature is a good reminder of feasting. Because if you think about it, and look at the seasons as we go through, it goes through these cycles. And it flourishes. We see springtime, and the leaves are coming out of the trees, the flowers are blooming. We have this fullness, this beautiful expression all the time, and we're always reminded. And what happens as the seasons move along? And then fall and winter, fall, the leaves drop. There's a nourishing that goes on. There's a letting go. And it's the cycle, just like us. And wintertime, when the roots sink more deeply into the earth, that's our time of being quiet, like in the meditation time. That's a way that we feast. Even when we're not thinking we're actively doing something, we're still feasting, because we are allowing ourselves to be nourished in those moments. When was the last time you soaked in the tub? And this includes the guys too. Not just necessarily a bubble bath, but when was the last time you got in a tub and you just soaked yourself with maybe Epsom salts or bath salts? Herb's over here making faces.
Yeah, you try to figure out which decade that was.
Which decade that was. I mean, the little things, you know, as a massage therapist too, I don't practice like that per se anymore. But one of the things with my clients for many years, and even now I do that differently when working with someone, it's more about becoming conscious of your body and what are the things that you do to pamper, to really care for your physical body. You know, this amazing creation that we have, I think we've often used the analogy of an automobile. We take our car in to get a tune-up, or the brakes changed, or the tires rotated, or we try to make sure gas is even in the car, hopefully, so we can get to Unity in the mountains on a snowy day, or have whatever we need on our car to get us there. But how much attention do we pay to our physical body? Because that's an expression of God. I noticed earlier when I got the mug with the water in it, it had hearts on it, and I smiled. because February, I just have that awareness, is Heart Health Month. And I thought, what a perfect time to be here doing this talk about nourishing ourselves and about feasting and about making those fun, delicious choices. You know, what are those things, once again, that you do that are always on your banquet table? I think of growing up, and we always had bread. Bread, the loaf of bread was pretty standard, especially with my dad being from the South. He had bread and sandwiches and those kinds of things. What are the staples that would be on your buffet that you know that you need every day? Would it be prayer and meditation? Would it be you doing something for yourself? Quiet time, taking a few minutes? Or do you find that you're caught up in the busyness of life? Or most of you folks are probably retired here anyway, so you have time to putz around and enjoy things. I don't know, are you smiling when I say that? You're shaking your head. And you have enough time to do a talk on a Sunday morning, because I heard that. I'll have to get your CD and check you out. You know, we'll have to have you come down to Unity North and do a talk for us. So what I wanted to just highlight this morning are really these things. It's very simple, but it's very easy to forget. I often think too, when we have people over for dinner, and if you had your array of offerings for those people, what would those be? Because you know, every day when you show up, like you did this morning, every single one of you has brought something to this banquet table that we are feasting on this morning. Every single one of you. What would you be offering this morning? If we had a name tag this morning and it had your regular name on there, what would be your word that you would put on your name tag this morning, that you would be offering for everybody to partake of at this feast this morning? What was it?
Love.
Love. Anybody else want to share? Acceptance.
Joy.
Joy. Kindness. Serenity. I like earlier too when you read about forgiveness for the daily word. In fact, I was sitting there, you know, we could go on forever talking about the different things that would be on our feasting table every day. And forgiveness would certainly be one of those main ones. And that is such a powerful, powerful way to nourish and take care of ourselves. Because we know forgiveness doesn't do anything out there. It doesn't change anyone. It sets us free. It liberates us from that prison, from the bonds, from the shackles and chains, or whatever word you want to call it. And it opens us back up to that flow, so that we're back in to that stream of love, to that stream of life, to that stream of grace that's always flowing. So forgiveness is a powerful, powerful way to nourish and to nurture and to feast on. Called the Feast of Forgiveness. You know, one of the words too that I want to throw out to you is creativity. One of the things at the buffet when I used to go, after I made the choice to begin to really take care of Jeanie little by little, it wasn't easy. I will tell you, I'm working on a book right now, actually. And I said working. You hear, I just said writing. I'm working on a book now because it's been really hard to express that when we have things that are within us that we know we want to heal, so that we can be of service, so that we can feel closer and more connected to what we already are. And we block, what I started to say a minute ago, is unforgiveness, we know, blocks that flow. So it's the same kind of thing in our practice. What do we do on a daily basis? So I wanted to offer you, as I wanted to talk as long as I did the last time I was here. That was a long day. I think we had messages and we had all kinds of cool things going on. So don't want to keep you all any longer than necessary. But I wanted to offer you 4 basic steps to look at, and they're very simple, so that you can craft a self-care program for yourself. That was redundant, wasn't it? That was great. Can't say it too many times, right? A self-care program that truly honors you, that is respectful of you, that is very loving. It's nourishing, it's enriching, and most of all, it's something that you really enjoy doing. It's got to be fun. So this is where your creativity comes in. The first step would be to listen. To listen. And these 4 steps I'm going to offer you are using the word love, so you can follow along if you're not taking any notes. Make it very simple. You really want to listen. Like I told you when I made that choice, I had constantly just turned off that voice that kept saying, Jeanie, Jeanie, it's time, it's time, it's time. And I know all of us sometimes have been called to do certain things, and we turn away from it, and we put up the walls, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And that's okay. Because I firmly believe that right where you are on your path is exactly where you're meant to be. If you weren't, then you'd be someplace else. It's that simple, is what I've come to know. And I'm learning what it is I need to learn on that place, on my path in that moment. So the first one is to listen. You want to listen to that inner voice. You want to listen to the guidance that is always provided for you in every single moment. That's why earlier when I offered the time of silence, to simply be still. In the busyness of life, we're always out there doing, doing, doing. It's okay to be a human being, not a human doing. And it's easy to forget. It truly is. So what is it that you need? What is it that your body is calling for? I love the grin on your face. It's beautiful. And the shawl is beautiful too. I know it's a little chilly. Okay. We're going to warm this place up. All right, where are those other people? They're supposed to, have a lot more body warmth going on. So what is it that your body's calling for? Right now, is there something that you already know that you need to give attention to in your body? What about your mind? What's happening in there? There's so much amazing research now. There's a great book out there, How God Changes Your Brain. And it's got some spirituality mixed in with some science, and there's so much incredible stuff out there now. But what is it your mind is calling for? Is it just having monkey mind with so many thoughts that are ongoing? There's a grin on her face. So much going on that you just simply need to be still. What is it for you? Listen. What is it that you're calling for? That yourself, and I say your higher self with capital letters, not the little self, because the ego is going to try to distract you. That little self is going to try to say, hey, come over here. Don't pay attention to what you need to do. And you can have a conversation with ego and say, I got you. I'll talk to you later. Your heart. So it's Heart Health Month. Could you commit to one thing this month that you would do for your heart health? What would that be? Forgiveness is a big one. But what about in the physical sense? That gets back to the body. What could you do to strengthen your heart? Okay? And your spirit. Your soul. A little different. So, what is it saying to you? Do you feel like your soul is flying right now, that your spirit is free? Or do you feel like you're living small? Is your soul... I always like to put it, is God having a good time as you right now? That's the way I like to ask that question. If you're not flying, if you're not living on the edge, what do they say? You're taking up too much room. Okay? O in the word love. The letter O. Own your experience. Own it. Take responsibility for it. That's a great way to nourish yourself. It's a great way to nurture you and to feast. Because you're owning it. You're not pointing the finger out there and blaming somebody else for what's happening in your life. You're the only one that gets to choose your thoughts unless you allow somebody else to put them there. Or I know in my case, I still a lot of times hear my mom back here and I'm like, okay, Mom, still. All right. I love you, but no. It's time for Jeanie now. And that's okay. It's really okay. So it's owning your experience, because then every moment becomes an opportunity. When you own it, this is just for me, and I continue to see this, I see less challenges in my life, and I see more opportunities. Things that I once perceived as challenges have now become opportunities, because I'm seeing it through my very own eyes. And my own eyes are God's eyes. That's my original divine nature, not my humanness getting in the way. And the V gets back to what we spoke about just a little bit, is to value yourself. Many speakers that you hear now, many books that you read, once again, I'll mention Carol O'Connell, like I said, is one of my favorite mentors. a month or two ago doing a talk, and I know when I speak to people as well and work with clients, especially one-on-one, it's the same thing. In that core of us, there's that peace that we still feel we are not good enough. There's an unworthiness that resides in so many people. And if you feel you're unworthy, why would I go to a buffet? Why would I go to a buffet that's going to taste good? Why would I do that? I would probably settle for something else, and I would limit myself. So own your experience, and opportunities will abound. Value yourself. Listen. And the last one of all is to embrace. That's the E. Embrace yourself right now, right where you are, just as you are. And the key word here is unconditionally. Right where you are, that's what God does, loves you unconditionally right now in this moment. Can you do that for you? Can you do that for you and just allow yourself to be free? I know that it's hard sometimes to shake those old habits and behaviors that we've had for so long, but you can do it, especially when you realize that you don't have to do it alone. That everything that you need is provided for you to make any kind of change, to create any kind of new habit. It only takes 28 days. 28 days. So I'm going to end with one more little quote here out of the book, and it says, "Old habits die hard, as do fear-based experiences, along with negative, unloving thoughts that have been stored in our cellular memories. What a blessing and gift to know that we can feast on the endless array of divine delicacies, always prepared with the right and perfect ingredients to satisfy any craving and desire of our mind, body, heart, and soul. Feasting vitalizes us, elevates our vibration, and is essential to healing and radiant well-being." What will you have today? What will you have today? What is it for you that you want to taste? And remember, if you're not sure what you want, the universal chef is always preparing exactly what you need. That's what's so nice about it. We already know. All we have to do is ask and be willing to allow it. And life changes so beautifully. Become more conscious, creative, and you have an opportunity to really capture the essence of why you're here and to enjoy every single moment. I will just end with this. I was smiling. I was like, okay, we're going to enjoy the beauty of the feast. Right? Bon appetit. Thank you all so much.